Everything But Politics podcast.
Welcome back, friends, to another episode of the Everything But Politics podcast. Today we have an awesome guest, Javi, aka Big Hobbs Barbecue. Javi, thank you for coming on the podcast, man.
Oh yeah, man. I'm great. I'm glad y'all had me. Glad y'all are having me on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Javi, can you kind of give our listeners a little background on yourself, how you got into barbecue and how you got to Texas, what you did prior to barbecue and just your whole
Yeah, the whole barbecue thing, man, that's just something that kind of just grew up with, passed on from generation to generation. A big part of it for me is that my old man, he was a welder, fabricator. My dad came from Mexico. He joined the Marine Corps to get his citizenship during Vietnam. So that's how that's how I got here. So I was born in Victoria, Texas. I don't really speak a lot of Spanish. My Spanish sucks. But after my father getting out of the war and kind of growing up, he became a welder. And I grew up, like I said, I was born in Victoria, Texas, which is not far from the Gulf of Mexico. And just from there, that I just remember, as a kid, he'd be in the backyard, he'd be welding some stuff together, building oh, we're gonna barbecue tonight, I need to build a barbecue pit or whatever. And yeah, just basically from that. And over the years it just kind of gets passed on, part of the culture, that kind of stuff. And that's where I am today. But I just I'm just one of those people that I'm tired all the time, but I never sit down, if that makes any sense. So I'm always in the backyard. I've got a bunch of projects going on all the time, all evolving around, like cooking equipment, stuff like that. And of course, like with that comes, the barbecuing and like, oh yeah, we're gonna smoke a brisket or this or that. But I'm more into like, roasting whole cows and whole pigs over fire and stuff like that. So me having the ability to be able to fabricate and weld has taken my cooking to extreme levels. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Javi, you mentioned that your first impression of barbecue came from your dad, who was a welder with a barbecue pit at night. What kind of like experiences do you have from that? I mean, I know I mentioned impression, but looking back to when you were just a child, like what do you look back upon that kind of you still have today when you are cooking?
Well, it's more the like say you go to a Japanese steakhouse, right, where they cook in front of you and that kind of stuff. Okay, so I remember like my dad when he would barbecue, and it's the same for me. It was always like part of the show. Like if we're gonna have company over, we're not gonna cook until they get there, and that's whole part of the let's have some beers, let's have a good time. Okay, it's time to eat, and that's pretty much how it runs in my backyard.
Nice.
And
Yes,
what do you consider to be like essential when you're having a barbecue?
Essential? Well, I mean, definitely got to be a good time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's you can get away from it, like I know like with the whole social media thing and that kind of stuff, where I'm kind of like at a point right now also, just me myself. But I've noticed that once you get into like creating and stuff like that, it takes the fun out of it. You're cooking for the camera, you're feeding the camera, and that's the whole part of that gets lost for me. Because prior to how TikTok and Instagram has changed, as far as their reels, and people are putting out really great content, all of that prior to all of that, I would run on my stories and like as it was like play by play. If I was gonna put on a piece of meat, I was putting on a piece of meat. If I was gonna chug a beer, you're gonna see me chug a beer. I'm having a good time. And now like all of that has changed a little bit to where like people, I don't know if people want to see that or not, but that's not what people are kind of the kind of content that they're putting out. So definitely a good time is essential to a barbecue.
Yeah, I
No,
love
but on
And
top of, yeah, go ahead, Javi.
well, I was gonna say, and when I do events, I don't know if y'all seen some of the events that I'll do where we get really into like cooking, 5, 6, 10 animals or cooking a whole cow. Usually I'll walk out of that event when it's all said and done with hardly any videos or pictures on my phone.
Well, how has that changed? I mean, prior to this TikTok, Instagram Reel age, like, has your passion for it like gone down? I mean, how has it like changed over the last 3-5 years?
My passion definitely has not gone down. Like as far as like the cooking and that stuff, I have, like I said, if you were to see like my whole backyard, which I live in a neighborhood, but I have a big open fire table. I'm in the middle of building a whole steer rack to cook a whole steer. Like I think I am more motivated than anything else, by watching other people. Yeah, they're doing their one cooks, cooking a piece of meat and highlighting it and that kind of stuff. But it's still, even to the whole part of the photography and learning how to use a camera and how to take video, it's all motivating to me. But like I said, I'm one of those people that I don't sit down and my mind is always going. So if there's something that catches my attention, I'm gonna research it and I'm gonna spend the money, which whatever, like, because I've got the cameras, I've got all that stuff, and I'm friends with a lot of people that know what they're doing, and yeah, so really, I mean, it's all motivating for me. Even if I'm not posting as much, it's just that it's so motivating that I'm so busy, especially on the fabricating end, that I don't have time to do it all, if that makes any sense.
No, that does make sense. But I guess what got you into the posting? I mean, how did you realize like there was room to grow like through TikTok, Instagram, and after
Well,
making your first post, how did you realize what was like, okay, like now I got to be consistent and keep doing this?
okay, well, like I said, I've always cooked, and I would, cook something and I'd take pictures of it and post it on Facebook and whatever. People be like, "Oh man, it looks good," or like, "Where's the invite?" or whatever. And, I just my wife was telling me about Instagram, and Instagram was just pictures back then, and she's like, "You got to make an Instagram page," and I'm like, well, whatever. And finally, I decided, like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna make an Instagram page for my barbecue. And I had no idea that. I mean, even right now, it is like the barbecue culture on social media is strong. Like it, you know what I mean? Like it's a lot of loyalty, a lot of friends, a lot of from all over the country, and and so I start my Instagram page, and posting pictures and this and that, and like you start gaining followers, and like you start learning, like, okay, like if I cook this and I take pictures or I show this, then I'll post it and I'm gonna get more followers. So it kind of started like that, and then it came where they changed it to where it was videos, not reels yet, but videos, pictures, and then kind of like the Snapchat thing, like the stories.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
with the stories, that's where I really, really would run with it, because I'd be in the backyard, like I'd be cooking dinner for the family, and I'd be I'd be back here by myself, but I'd be like highlighting the whole cook through my stories, just talking shit, whatever, throwing back shots, and there was so much interaction, like people having, sending me videos of taking a shot with me, stuff like that. And it was a lot of fun. And, then came the reels, and that, I think that totally changed everything. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's not about the stories anymore. It's not about posting pictures. It's about posting quality reels, you know, for Instagram, social media. But I guess that's just my take on it, because I know there's still people out there that they ain't changed a thing and they're probably having a good time. And my only thing is that I've gotten so busy because I sell equipment through social media that I've gotten so busy that my posting has slowed down, and so is my cooking. But on the backside, I'm pretty busy
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I have
Good to
a
be
full-time
busy.
job also.
And what is your full-time job?
I work for a power company, so I've been a lineman for 20 years.
Okay, nice. And
Right.
very nice.
Yeah. Which, if you live in Indiana, they're all over Indiana and Ohio.
Great, awesome. So, Javi, you must cook a lot at home. How often do you eat out, and what's the ratio to cooking at home and eating out?
I would say probably 3 to 4. 3 days eating out, 4 days cooking.
All
And
right.
where
And
the
even if I'm cooking, like when I cook, I do a lot of indoor cooking, but for me, my social media, it's a barbecue page, so I don't really post anything of what I cook indoors.
the meat that you are cooking, I mean, does it come from a butcher? Do you hunt? I mean, where does someone like give you the meat considering you promote it on your social media page? Where does like the pork or the brisket or where does it come from?
Well, usually, like if I'm just doing a regular backyard cook, I live in South Texas, so down here you got your meat markets and that kind of stuff, and they're all over the place. So, yeah, I mean, basically, I mean, there's getting meat is pretty easy. Hunting, I don't have time for it. I wish I did, but I don't. But same thing. Like I said, going to meat markets, I can get my whole pigs, my cabritos. When we do whole cow, that's a little bit different. Usually that comes from a ranch that breeds cattle for that and that kind of stuff.
And when you do a whole cow, how long does that meat last for? It must last for weeks.
Well, that's the thing. Usually when you're doing something like that, you're cooking it all at once, and it's about 500 pounds of cow.
Whew.
And so,
Jeez.
you've got about, you're going to have a good crowd, like it's going to be a big event, So, I mean, the last event we did, I know we had over 500 people.
So, how many people could a 500-pound cow feed?
Man, like I said, I know, we had about 500 people at the last event, and the cow was about 500 pounds. And there was some meat left over that we kind of donated, that kind of stuff, to, local fire departments and stuff like that.
Nice.
How long do you cook that cow for an event like that?
Well, that last one took 22 hours.
Wow. And
Yeah.
is that you're
Jeez.
cooking it outdoors? So what do you guys do if there's bad weather?
We haven't come across that, I mean, we just got to keep going with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Nice.
really. Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
and,
I mean, when we did the last whole cow we did, it was over 100 degrees outside, and of course we're cooking over an open fire, so it was pretty tough. Yeah, it was a rough day that day.
Wait, Javi, a question I have for you, shifting from beef to pork. When you're preparing a pig, and obviously like pigs are dirty animals and kind of just not the cleanest compared to beef. How do you go about preparation, ensuring that it's 100% clean and there's nothing like no contaminants still on the swine?
Well, I know for the most part, like I said, I usually get them through a meat market or anything like that. So they are like raised, and whatever, however they feed them or whatever. But by the time it gets down to me, it's already all cleaned out. Like it's gutted. They all the fur is off of it, and the whole process of removing fur from a pig has to do with boiling water and stuff of that nature. So
Yeah.
by the time I get it, it's a pretty clean animal.
And how about when you're dealing with a cow? What kind of prep goes into that?
Same thing, like you ever seen like on TV or in the movies where you got like these cows that they're hanging in
Yeah.
these big
Yeah.
refrigerators? Okay, that's how we'll end up getting them. So usually the last cow came off of a farm where they have their own refrigeration and all that. So they cleaned out the cow for us, and then they dry aged it. I think it hung for 21 days. So by the time we get it, it's just a carcass. You know what I'm saying? It's already all drained out of blood, all of that stuff.
Yeah. And is the cow before you guys cook it, do you guys do any special seasoning to it, or what kind of seasoning do you like to use when you're cooking a
Well,
animal like that?
something like that, like I mean, you can put seasoning on it, but it really isn't going to do any good. And with the whole concept for me of cooking with fire and stuff like that, I only primarily use salt just for the fact that, anything else, when you start throwing your garlic and all this other stuff on there, your powders, it's going to burn, and then it's gonna have that sour taste, that bitter taste. So I usually hold off, especially cooking beef like steaks. I won't season it until afterwards, which is just salt. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Sometimes I'll pre-brine it with salt because, like I said, salt isn't going to burn. So it all depends. But when you get to cooking like bigger cuts of meat, it mainly it's just to give it some color, for the camera or whatever, anything like that. Because by the time you even cooking a pork butt, how they're so big, like you can season the outside of it all you want, but by the time you shred it, you're still going to have to add more seasoning.
And how? Go ahead, Evan. Sorry.
Is that different compared to when you just say cook a ribeye on your grill? Are you seasoning that, or are you just using salt as well?
Just salt. Now, when I'm like, say I'm gonna smoke a brisket or smoke a pork butt, then I'll season my meat because for me, I mean, my opinion, but that whatever you're putting on that piece of meat that you're gonna put in a smoker of indirect heat, that's gonna help it, absorb flavor. It's gonna help it create a bark, and that's how you get, that nice crust on your brisket or anything like that. But like I said, for the most part, when I'm cooking steaks or cooking, anything over fire, primarily it's just salt.
Great.
Javi, so obviously with your father coming from Mexico and Edinburgh, Texas, literally right next to Mexico, how much of your like seasoning, cooking, preparation has been inspired by Mexican culture? And the
A lot of
recipes?
it. A cabrito, I don't know if y'all know what that is, but it's a baby goat. So if you think of it as like say a deer, right? A baby deer, milk fed is going to be veal, right? So that's basically what a cabrito is. And crossing the border, which is about 10 minutes from me, back when I was a kid, we used to go down there a lot, especially on Sundays. My dad would go down there, get his hair cut, drink some beers, and we'd go eat. And in all of the restaurants, they had like these windows with fire pits, and they would have the goats roasting, like just walking down the street. And that's what I remember, so here we are, fast forward to where I'm at now, like, the flavor of that meat, it's very buttery. It's very good, but I never really considered it, it's something that I would turn into to be showing on social media until I got on social media. I was like, oh, okay, so let me highlight what I do and like the culture that where I'm from and that kind of stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, and then the whole cooking with mesquite wood and all of that stuff. That's just, what's down here and what we use and, that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
Can you let us know what your relationship is with Spaceman Knives?
Spaceman, yeah. I guess I'm an ambassador for Spaceman Knives. He's a cool dude, and I like his style. I like his knives, and I've got a discount code. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in the link tree in my bio.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get one of those. They look great.
Man, yeah. I my favorite ones are the Meteor series, especially that big long blade. Yeah, that's my favorite one.
Wait, Javi, something I'm curious about that I came across on your Instagram. So I noticed a few posts with alligator, cooking gator. So my question for you is how come, so obviously being here in Florida, there's a few places that have gator, but all the gator that I've come across, you have to order fried gator. How come there's no places you could order like a grilled 8 ounce gator? Or like why is it like pretty much always fried from what I've seen?
I think for me, and I a real good friend of mine, he's got a good following on Instagram, Super Skewer. He That's like one of his specialties, which is cooking or roasting gator, I would say. And that's the only way I've really eaten it is roasted, and it's really really good. Especially if you brine it, stuff like that. But as I think the whole fried part for you guys in Florida is more of a culture thing, and that's the way it's always been done over there, and that kind of stuff. Because I've been told, oh well, I know for a fact that if you overcook it, it's going to be dry because it's a very lean meat.
Gotcha.
And
And
So
where you are in Texas, are gators local there? Does they usually come from like Louisiana or somewhere else?
yeah, usually they got to be brought in from East Texas, Louisiana, or even
Okay.
Florida. I've ordered them from Florida before.
And how does ordering an alligator work? I mean, do you order like a whole dead alligator with like all like the skin on it, or is it skinned when you get it?
It's already skinned, and normally it's got the head and the paws with the skin.
And how big are these alligators, or does it always just vary?
Yeah, I mean it kind of depends, like what you pay, what you pay for is what you get, I guess you'd say. But at the same time, you're also paying for overnight shipping. I know I've ordered gators before, and I've paid I think 200, over $200 to get it here overnighted just to keep it
Wow.
fresh.
And
So
how big is a gator like that? Like over like 8 feet, 10 foot, 6 foot, 4 foot? What are we dealing
about
with?
6 foot, I think, was the last one. And it's kind of hard to kind of gauge a 6 foot gator because you don't know if it's a fat 6 foot gator or a skinny one, or so uh going by the pound is a little bit better. But I know like some of the places, or most of the places that I've looked at, usually is by the length, small, medium, or large, or
Yeah, yeah.
you
Yeah.
know that nature.
And how many people does a 6 foot gator typically feed?
mm, I mean, I guess you could say a decent crowd, but I mean, it's not a lot of meat. I would say, maybe 15 people. Everybody get a little taste of it, a couple tacos or whatever.
Well, and normally you don't go north of the tail, right? Or do you? It's just the tail that's like the main food source, or is that incorrect?
Right. Yeah. The tail is where all the meat is. From what I've seen, and like shredding them, there's four loins that are in that tail. And the legs, of course, are dark meat, which, pretty much tastes like frog legs.
Oh,
And
nice.
anything north of that, there's really not a lot of meat on that carcass.
compared to the cow, how long does the gator take to cook?
Oh man, a gator about 4 hours, depending on size, but give or take 4 to 5 hours.
That's not bad. So
And at this point in your cooking career, is gator and the things you've seen, is gator even that rare, or would you say it's pretty common feast?
I would think, like for me, it's kind of like, oh, okay, we're gonna make another gator. You know what I mean? But like people like to see that, even still on social media. I know I'll post a video of like regular animals cooking, and the video gets like okay views. Then I post a video of some gators in there, and then the video takes off. So yeah, I think
So,
people still get intrigued by seeing gator cooked, especially where like it's not a common thing, like out in the public, I guess you'd say.
yeah, 100%. Like I said, it caught my eye immediately when I saw the two gators with their mouths lined up, like crossed against each other like that.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, that
Yes,
was a good event.
so
nice.
Javi, what are some, I guess, unusual animals that you have cooked?
Man, I haven't,
Huh.
but I stick to the main things that I know and I like,
Yeah.
which is cabrito, baby goat, lamb, even lamb for me. You gotta like the flavors a little out there, and you gotta kind of you know know the flavor, I guess.
Mm.
Pig and beef. But my buddy up in Oregon, where they're out in the mountains, all that kind of stuff, and I know they've cooked cougars and rams and some wild stuff. Like they do a lot of trapping in that area, I guess you'd say. So like you're not gonna. I guess the right thing to do is that if you kill it, you eat it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
why not?
so I don't think I'd kill a cougar. Like I've got pictures. He's got pictures all over Instagram of that, and I'm just kind of like, God dang, it looks crazy.
What's his name?
Super Skewer.
Super Secure. Oh yeah, we're gonna have to check him out. I gotta see
Yeah,
some of that
check him
cougar.
out, man. Like he's really, really good at cooking also.
Nice. So Javi, aside from when you're not working, when you're not cooking, what else do you like to do in your free time? What do you enjoy spending your time doing?
Sitting on the couch. Every once in a while I try to do it once a year. I'll load up the family and hop in the car and we'll just take off driving and and usually we'll end up, out west somewhere, out towards Colorado, Utah, California, just taking road trips, with my family, which, my
Nice.
son, he's 20 years old already. So, he's already kind of falling off of a little bit of, hanging out with the parents and all that kind of stuff. So, but that's what I like to do. Cause, like I said, I'm a very busy person because, like I said, I have to be doing something. So in order for me to actually relax and like wind down, I have to leave.
That makes sense. So
Yeah.
are you a big football fan then?
I do like football.
Are we talking Cowboys? Or are we talking Texans?
Oh, yeah, we're gonna go with the Cowboys.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are the Cowboys gonna be this year?
I don't know, man. I think they're gonna be the same as last year. I think they're gonna get there and they're gonna choke.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's what I think. They made some changes and I don't know, man. I know they let go of Ezekiel Elliott, and I was just kind of like, wow, man, I can't believe they let him go. And I know Dak's had a lot of issues, like he's got his good days and his bad days. And then, I mean, even last year, I mean, we had a backup quarterback that did pretty good.
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
And I think
And then-
that's part of the reason why we got to the playoffs.
I agree. And then the NFC East seems to be getting better too, with the Giants getting better and the
Yep.
Eagles obviously for past NFC champions. So
Right?
gonna be tough.
Are you a Bucks?
We're Bears fans.
Bears
Chicago
fan.
Bears.
Oh, okay, right on. Yeah,
No, they're looking up. We'll see.
Yeah. I was surprised with Tom Brady, man. I really didn't think he was going to retire.
Yeah, that was so surprising.
Especially a year after saying that he did retire and then came back, and then only to do it a year after that. Took all the drama. Out of that.
And he went through some shit. That's for sure, with his family
No
and all
doubt.
of that.
Yeah.
And as much as I despise the guy, I like to watch him play because he's that good.
He
Well,
is
you-
that good.
Your Cowboys spanked them in the playoffs.
Yeah, except for that first game at the beginning of the season.
I
Yeah.
remember that game totally.
That's when Dak went down, I think.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, with his finger, correct?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
broke a finger.
I remember that.
Yeah, so yeah, I enjoy football.
Very nice.
What is
So Javi, what? Oh,
You-
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, what's the most like impressive or memorable like dish you've ever made that always stands out to you?
Man, there's some things that I've made where like that's a tough one, man. Because like I said, I'm kind of known for cooking my whole animals and and not so much just cooking them, but building the equipment that I cook them on. But if you're talking about like in that aspect, cooking a cow is that's something that you're not gonna do, it's got to be well planned out. The equipment's got to, be 100%. Make sure it's fabricated right, the design is right, that kind of stuff. So, but I've cooked some things, that just like wow, like I know I made a porchetta one time outside in my backyard, you know, over open fire all the way, and the skin on it, you get it to turn to each other on all that. That thing was pretty crazy, man. It was hella delicious.
Awesome.
Amazing. Yeah. We're big
Uh,
meat eaters, so your page definitely gets us hungry, and I like just scrolling through it.
Yeah, right on, man. Well, if y'all ever get down this way, y'all are I always tell everybody, unexpected company is the best company.
Yeah, that's fine. And that can be said about so many things. All things that are spontaneous seem to just always like hit a little different.
Right. Because, like, your buddy calls you up, hey man, I'm gonna stop by. And you're like, God damn, man, I got shit to do, and this guy wants to stop by. I ain't got time. But if somebody just shows up, I'm kind of like, hey man, what's cooking, man? Let's go get some meat.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, you gotta love that. Javi, before we let you go here, we want to ask you a few rapid fire questions if that's chill with you.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it. Javi, what at this point in time, what's your favorite food?
Pizza.
That's a shocking answer. Okay. What animal have you cooked the most of in your entire life?
Beef. Cow.
Okay. And if you were to describe barbecue in one single word, what would that word be?
Awesome.
Okay, very nice. Best, and this is one I'm curious to hear you say after talking about the cow earlier. What's the best piece of meat on a cow?
Oh man, the best piece of meat on a cow. Jeez, man, that's a tough one, man. There's so many good. The whole cow is good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if you're looking at steaks, I would say ribeye. The tenderloin is also really good, but the ribeye is probably my favorite. The bavette is really tender and juicy and good. Of course, the fajitas. So that's a tough one.
Okay, and last one here. This is one that I really have no idea. When was the last time you did a full shave?
Sheesh. I have not seen my face in probably over 15 years.
Wow.
Of course, I did just trim about 4 inches off about 2 weeks ago.
Looks great.
It does look great. That's the real deal.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been a long time. I don't even know what I look like anymore.
Awesome. All right, well, Javi, this is it's been a lot of fun. Thanks for coming on, man.
Really
All right,
cool.
man. I appreciate you guys, and hopefully we can do it again.
Well,
Yeah,
Javi, where's the best place for our listeners to find you?
My number one is gonna be Instagram. That's Big Hobbs _barbecue. I'm on TikTok, but I don't really post much there. Facebook, just my regular, account, Javier Mejia. But yeah, Instagram's gonna be my number one. So if you want to check out my stuff, go there.
and if you're hungry, definitely check it out. You have to go find some barbecue soon after. So, Javi, thank you, my man.
All right, I appreciate you guys.